Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to go through another deep research that we have in the market right now, and that is Perplexity's deep research. If you don't already know, Perplexity is what we are currently using, what I'm currently using as a replacement to Google search. It's something that I find it's incredibly helpful. Just has changed the way that I do search right now, and they came up with deep research, which is and answers to OpenAI's deep research, and it's really helpful, and that's what I wanted us to go through today. So to get to the website, you're going to go to perplexity.ai, and once you are there, on the left hand side, that's where we have like new thread, we have the home button, discover, spaces, library. I've already gone through in some other videos. So today we are mostly going to do a deep research on different topics and kind of like see the practical use cases of Perplexity's AI's deep research. So Perplexity's AI deep research was launched on February 14th, the day of love. And it's really good in the sense that it can really be helpful. It's really fast, can go through very many sources like YouTube and articles like most of the other deep researches that we have right now. The way to think about deep research when it comes to Perplexity as well as OpenAI's and Gemini's is when you're searching for something, you're only going to go to one site at a time. But with deep research, you can give it a topic and it is going to go through, the AI is going to go through multiple sites and then generate a report for you. So that is incredibly helpful and it's going to save you a lot of time. So the way it works is that it uses a framework called the test time compute, and what this means is that it is going to mimic kind of like how human beings think and work. So it's going to take the prompt or the query and then divide that into subtasks, and then autonomously it's going to go search the web, go through hundreds of sources, and then after that it's going to synthesize the findings that it gets into a report. So some of the capabilities that we have is obviously search, because it has to search the web, and then coding, because it can be able to analyze code that are in documents. And like I said, when it comes to Perplexity AI, is way better compared to the other ones because it is definitely the fastest. That can be a good thing and a bad thing, in the sense that it is a good thing because you're going to get what you want in under 3 minutes. But the bad thing is that it's not going to be as detailed as what you're going to get, for example, with Google's Gemini's deep research or even OpenAI's deep research. So the more time it takes, the better the report, because it's not going to be as vague. But with Perplexity, if it's something that you just want to do very fast, you want like a more detailed answer to your prompt, just compared to like normal search. If you want a very fast answer, you can use Perplexity because it is way faster. So I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to give it an example of the other prompt that we used in our last video when it came to Google Gemini. I'm just going to ask it to generate a report on the state of artificial intelligence in AI in healthcare, and with a practical focus on its role in cancer research and how close we are to getting a cure for cancer. So I have really given it a very detailed prompt, and then here at the very bottom, I'm going to click on auto, where we have auto, click on that, and you're going to have some options there. So pro is, it's going to do deep detailed search, but it's not going to be as deep. So this is something that can go maybe through 1 or 2 sites, but not as detailed. Reasoning is, it's going to reason on the search query and the search answer and then generate a report on that, but again, it's not going to be as detailed. So I'm going to click on deep research, which is at the very bottom. So click on that, and then once you've done that, you just click enter. The downside to this one compared to what we got with Gemini's deep research is that it does not give you the option to edit the plan. So this is just going to go straight into doing the deep research for you, but it's going to be faster, but you're not going to get the option to edit the plan. And like I said, the really good thing with this here is that here you get to see the sources that it is going to reference. So here they are. So it's showing you the thinking process here. These are the 3 steps. Here we are. So you get to see how it is thinking, what it is going through. So close that. And then you also see the sources. And because this is going to take a while, it's going to take around 1 to 2 minutes, not as much time compared to what we have with the other ones. So you can just click on notify me, and then it's going to notify you once it is done. Okay, so it is done, and we can see this is a report, we have the sources here. When you click on sources, we are going to have all the sources that it has gotten the information from. They're all going to be listed here, and then click on deep research. This now you're going to get the research itself. And I've also done this with Google Gemini so you can get an idea on how detailed each one is. So when we scroll to the very bottom here, you're going to have the option to share. So it's going to generate a link that you can now share to someone else, and it's going to share this page with them, the Perplexity page. The other option is you can export the answer as a PDF. So click on that, and then it's going to generate a PDF form of that answer, or you can click on that as well, and then it's going to generate a markdown view. So if you are using something like Obsidian, you can use that, and then you can also generate a docs. So click on that, and then it's going to generate a Google Docs as well, or you can just share as a Perplexity page. So click on that, it's going to get a Perplexity page as well. So this is what it's going to look like, and it looks like an article kind of thing. Looks really good actually. I like it. The other option is that you can click on rewrite. You can click on rewrite, and then it's going to generate another one for you. So that is more or less what you're going to get with Perplexity's deep research. So look at that, and then you always get the option to ask follow-up questions here at the very bottom. So you can just ask follow-up questions depending on the answers that you've gotten. So this is how long it is. And then I want you to look at this, compare this to what we get now with Google Gemini. So with Gemini, you can see it is way longer, and I dare say more detailed compared to what we got with Perplexity. But the downside with Gemini is that it took longer, but with Perplexity it took like around 3 minutes. Gemini took around 5 minutes. So just depending on the answer that you want, or just use both and then generate a podcast with Notebook LM. So that is Perplexity AI. Every day you're going to get 5 deep research queries. So this is way better compared to like what we got with Google Gemini, which is around 5 to 10 research queries a month. So for this one is definitely way cheaper and better when it comes to that, just the accessibility of it. And if you want the pro version, it's $20 a month, and then you're going to get around 500 deep research queries a day. So this is really, really affordable. So this is just way more affordable compared to like what we have with Google Gemini and also what we have with OpenAI's deep research. So the common use case scenarios and practical prompts that I've gotten is just if you really want to understand a very complex topic. So for example, create a comprehensive report explaining the basics of climate change, its main causes, predicted impact, and proposed solutions, citing recent scientific consensus. So that's just a very good example that you can do deep research on. Or if you're looking for product and service comparison, so for example, if you're unsure which phone to buy, you want to buy a Pixel, you want to buy an iPhone, you can do a deep research on that to see which one is going to fit your needs. So there's health and wellness, but this should really comes with a caveat in the sense that it's not going to be scientific proof. Always make sure that it's not necessarily everything that you read on the internet is not necessarily true. AIs are known to hallucinate. So when it comes to health, make sure that whatever you are going to research, you always just have a backup. Always make sure that what you are researching when it comes to health is correct. So always don't just take anything that you get from, especially when it comes to health, as truth. So you can use it in travel planning. You can use it in current event analysis. So for example, provide a comprehensive overview of the current global chip shortage, explaining its causes, impacts on various industries, and potential long-term solutions. You can use it for learning and hobby exploration, and you can also use it for decision making. So for example, if you want to, like I said, buy something else or buy an iPhone or an Android phone, which one is going to be better for you? Always you can do deep research on that. It's way better than you going to every single site in Google looking at the advantages and the pros and cons of certain products. So the limitations here is that it will not match the capabilities of what we get with Gemini's deep research or even OpenAI's deep research. It is faster, yes, but it's not as detailed. So the source reliability is that it can rely heavily, and this is something that I've heard more than once, that Perplexity's deep research can rely heavily on Reddit, and Reddit is not necessarily a very reliable source. It's it's anonymous people talking about things in anonymous nature. I can't say the word, but yeah. So like the fact that it uses Reddit or relies heavily on Reddit is something that should always just give you pause. So make sure that anything that you get from it, always just double check. Remember that it may have potential bias because it is trained on web data, which contains bias. And like I said, hallucinations is always something that you should always be aware with, especially when it comes to any AI systems. Does have the tendency to hallucinate. So make sure that when you are writing the prompt, it's going to be as detailed as possible so that you get a better output. So the other disadvantage with this is the output length is not going to be as big compared to, or as detailed compared like with what we get with Google Gemini's deep research or even OpenAI's deep research. So the best practices for effective use, obviously we're going to be very specific in how you write your prompts and your queries, and then use the focus models. So we have academic, web research. So let me just show you what that looks like. So I am going to input the same prompt here, and then I'm going to click on auto and then click on deep research. And then here on the right, we can click on set sources for search. And this is where you can set which sources you want it to go and do the research on. So for example, here I can set the sources, mostly I want it to be web, or because for this very scientific query or question, I'm going to set it to be academic. And what this does is that it's only going to go and look for academic sources. So that is by far one of the biggest advantages that we have with Perplexity's deep research compared to like what we have with Google's Gemini's deep research. So you can set the sources there, or maybe you want it to be a bit more social, or all of them. So I'm going to turn off these ones, and then I'm only going to set it to be only academic sources. Click on that and then click enter. So it's going to browse the web, but this time it's only going to look for academic sources. So if you're doing research on academic papers, this is one of the things that is incredibly useful. So this is just the basic ones, is making sure that you have a very good prompt. Remember, garbage in, garbage out. The best, or the more detailed your prompt is, the more detailed your research is going to be. So comparing Perplexity's deep research to other deep research models that we have out there. So when it comes to OpenAI's deep research, Perplexity is way more affordable, looking at the fact that we have 5 queries a day. And OpenAI is behind a paywall, so you just gonna have to pay the $200 a month first for you to get access to that. And then when it comes to Google Gemini, you get 15 queries a month when Google Gemini, and Perplexity you get 5 a day. So affordability is way better. The only limitations, like I said, is that it's not going to be as detailed. Yeah, so that's mostly it for Perplexity AI's deep research. You can access it using perplexity.ai. I hope that this was useful, and happy search. Cheers.